Welcome to the January 2018 meeting of the Village of Southampton Planning Commission. We have a few items to talk about tonight. First of all, I want to mention that the trustees at their December 14th meeting passed the law which now extends the pyramid law to all of the residential lots in the Village of Southampton. We had, I think, a very productive process in getting that done. Very good conversation at the public hearing on the 14th, and terrific cooperation both from the village attorney and the building department in shaping the code. So that was good news, and one of the items we had from the study that we had done for us by Studio AB. Secondly, I just spent a few minutes. We at our December meeting voted on a proposal to amend the existing gross floor area in the village code, which currently is 12 plus 1,500 to become 10 plus 1,500. We've been, since that meeting, I should state, we've been trying to sort of put together some comparison for the trustee and the public of how that plays out. This will leave us with zoning which is still considerably more generous than the village of East Hampton, which is probably what we're most comparable to on the East End. So just to give some numbers in our smallest zone, which is the R75, under the existing zoning, you can build 4,835 square feet. Under the new zoning, you could build 4,566 square feet. That compares in the village of East Hampton. You currently can build 3,150 square feet. And that actually understates the difference, because the village of East Hampton actually does not permit the what we permit, which is in the attic or the third floor, allowing a third of the space not to be counted. If you look at the largest zone, we currently allow 29,000 square feet to be built in the R120 zone, 120,000 square foot lot. This assumes a 3-acre lot, which obviously they're not all. But let's just say for a 3-acre lot, you can currently build 29,000 square feet. Under the amended proposal, you'd be able to build 25,000 square feet.
I thought it was 18,000 square feet.
Well, we're looking at, so what we've done, sorry, I apologize. So what we've done with these numbers is look at the full amount, with the help of the building department, is look at the full amount of building area, not gross floor area. In other words, if you include the full amount of living area that you can put into the building on that lot, what is the full amount of the building
Including the basement?
area? No, but including the attic. Right. So, actual living area.
Including the attic, even if it's less than 7 feet?
No, it's the 1/3 that you're permitted.
So you can't go from 18,000 to 29,000? That doesn't make sense.
It's 120,000 square feet, so you're allowed 10%, which is 12,000 square feet.
The maximum is
Right.
18,000.
Okay, I will check the numbers, but I'm pretty sure these are correct in terms of living area. They're not GFA, and I can go through GFA also, obviously. Village of Southampton is 25,000 square feet. Under the new proposal, the Village of East Hampton is 16,000 square feet in the biggest zone. That's what they permit. There have been much more, there's many reasons for that, many reasons why our zoning should be more permissive than the Village of East Hampton. But we clearly still are allowing larger houses than the Village of East Hampton, but not as large as we now permit. So the differences are, most significant under what has been proposed in the bigger zone, and least significant in the smallest zones, which is sort of, since our focus up to now in our zoning had been really most restrictive in the smaller zones, but really the if you look at the building that's been taking place in recent years, a lot of that has actually been in the bigger zones as the shift is going on. So the law is still being drafted. I'll get around to everyone as soon as it's available. Eduardo, I will send both this chart and the actual GFA chart around to everybody after the meeting so we can all look at it. Make sure we all at least agree on what the numbers are. And I assume this will go through a very full and extended public review process, obviously, because it's probably the most significant change we've made since we made the original GFA back 12 years ago, I think.
But when are we going to do the actual submission to the town board?
Well, I think, the first step is for the village attorney to draft the code, and then they'll set a hearing date, and they have to obviously also go to the Suffolk County Planning Commission to get that review. So I'm assuming just the public hearing, my guesses will be March or April. And I assume in this case, given the issues that are involved, that they'll hold it open for more than one hearing. And there's obviously environmental reviews. This is the beginning of a process, but just wanted to note that's sort of underway. So, questions, comments? Okay. Wanted to talk tonight about dark skies. Circulated around, making available the town of Southampton's regulations for dark skies. The town of Southampton and the town of East Hampton now both have dark sky regulations. Obviously, the town of Southampton regulations do not affect us. So we currently have no lighting regulations in the residential zones. So this is proposed lighting regulations that I think are quite good. The ones in the town of East Hampton are very recent. They're 2016. But the ones in Southampton are a few years older.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that tonight and see what everyone thinks.
I think that there are two good regulations, but I think one aspect that they don't address is sometimes, and I know one case, I'm not going to say where the person is in a studio and he has all those LED lights in the studio, and it really shines onto the neighbor to the point that it's really like sort of lights up the neighbor. So maybe we should also address not only lights that are landscape lights or outside lights, but also lights that maybe shine from the inside.
That's probably an exception. I don't think that's true throughout the village. To start making regulations for what you can have inside the house because you have one case that is bothering you, I think that's maybe going too far.
Well,
On the outside, I can see doing it.
But it's lighting level is something that's very easily measurable. And I think that if you are creating so many candle lights so many feet away from your house, that you really affect your neighbors.
I'm just looking to see. I don't think there's any indoor lighting in here. I just was looking through.
It doesn't. I think.
I don't think we should try to get involved with indoor lighting and what's happening.
Too complicated.
Yeah.
Not indoor per se, but the amount of light that gets projected.
Through your window. That's what you're saying, right? It's indoor.
Yes.
It's indoor lighting escaping from the house through the window.
Through the window.
I think the hard part of that is...
No, we can just turn off the lights, turn off the current, have blow up all the things, and you'll be fine. Have dark skies.
That's sort of like what my block looks like at this time of year, actually.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the differences is outdoor lighting is generally done by either a landscaper or a contractor. It's usually part of a project. Indoor lighting is done, is usually done incrementally over many years. It's done by the residents, it's done by interior designer, it changes all the time. I think it's much harder to regulate, and we don't really have an enforcement mechanism, I think, for indoor lighting.
No, not indoor lighting, it would be the lights. Actually, it's kind of timely because there was at the last town hearing, there was actually somebody complaining and bringing up to the town board a similar issue that they had one of the neighbors really projecting too much light onto his property, and it was also part some lights that came from the inside, where you thought you had like
I don't know, maybe the problem was the floodlights for security, things like that, that's part, I mean, if I'm inside a house, to project outside of your property, it's gotta be some light.
with this LED light that's very bright. And it's something that somebody, for enforcement, that's really what, a light meter is something very inexpensive that the enforcement officer could have, and goes, if he receives a complaint, he goes there, measures the light level, just like the sound level. So you have a very inexpensive tool. You go there, you measure the sound level, if it's more than certain decibels, if it's more than certain candlelight.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't think we want to get involved with indoor lighting personally. I'm all for the outdoor lighting regulations, but, telling Mrs. Smith how many foot candles of light she can have in our living room that may or may not escape through the living room window, I don't think is...
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but except that in some situations, you have somebody who has a very strong light outside.
escaping through the window, right?
Yeah.
It's not a light fixture.
No, I
Let me
understand.
actually put it a different way. I think it's a different issue. So this issue is really about dark skies
Yes.
and preserving the ability to be able to see the sky at night.
Right.
The issue you're bringing up, which is a legitimate issue, is really about the impact on the neighbors. But I think our focus has been really about dark skies and rural character.
Right, here, but this is light trespass.
Yeah, right,
You see on the right.
right. But it is outdoor lighting.
Yes.
Neither of the town, I think, I would just, maybe on indoor lighting, if we can find someone I think on outdoor lighting, we have some good examples here.
Yes.
And I just personally, I feel a little more comfortable with the town of Southampton because it's been in effect for a while and seems to be working reasonably well. And you're not hearing complaints about,
No.
yeah. I mean, I know people have been building houses, and I don't hear any complaints about these lighting standards and the ability to meet them, so. In the town of Southampton. East Hampton, I don't know. I mean,
No,
it's just a more recent.
I think also on the commercial zone for the light, for the signs.
I think that may be, I'm trying to remember if that was covered here.
That we should also, maybe for commercial signs, that we should limit the amount of lumens or candlelight that they can project
Right.
outside.
I'm trying to remember if it does that.
I'd be shocked if it didn't.
Yeah,
It'd be great to read this and be
right.
prepared on this one for the next meeting.
So would everyone like to read this, and then for the next meeting, we'll decide what we need to change?
I mean, have you had a chance to look at it? Can you review it with us? Give us a...
Yeah, so, I mean, this is,
I mean, it seems, apart from all the legalese, it seems pretty straightforward.
right, I mean, so just to mark as example, it doesn't allow neon lights, it doesn't allow strobe lights.
Right.
The sort of, signage lighting that really, I think people would object to, doesn't allow flashing lights. And I believe it does, I'm pretty certain it does, it also includes signs, illuminated signs,
Yes.
obviously. What it does generally, so number one, I would say what it's generally doing is it's providing a maximum amount of lighting So it limits the, the sheer amount of light you can put on. It also controls the type of fixtures you use. So, for example, you can still have a floodlight, but it has to have a cap on it. So, they actually have some useful drawings in the
It
back.
shines down.
Right, so it
not
shines
up.
down, not up. Right, exactly. And then here they are. And you have it. These are illumination limits on page 20. Has illumination limits, including these are for the commercial uses. So it gives you limits on each piece, how much you can. And then, this is acceptable and unacceptable fixtures. And so, what it's doing, for example, is you are allowed to have a motion detector. It has to be a certain amount of distance away from a neighboring structure, and it has to go off within a certain period of time. So it's acknowledging that people like motion detectors, both for security reasons and they like to come home and be able to see their driveway and their walkway and whatever, but they don't want it to be on all night. Right. So, I looked through it. I thought it was a fairly reasonable approach, and what I liked about it is it was acknowledging that people want outdoor lighting. It wasn't trying to prohibit, it or, put people in a spot where they would.
Just to go a step further, actually, this is not just for residents, it's also for the municipality.
Yeah, this is for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is for everything.
So the municipality has to comply and make changes.
Correct. You're right. The village would have
Do you
to.
think the village would be grandfathered as well, or would the village want to?
I think the village. Well, that's a good question.
I think they would change, yeah.
I think they would change. I think the current mayor has been very focused on environmental issues, so I think he would probably
Yeah, and I think
want to see the
I
change.
think Mayor Irving has wanted to do this since he's been elected, so I think he would move forward by
Right.
changing it.
Yeah, to go, because all those village lights don't have a shield on top.
Right.
They're an open bulb, so
Well, it's probably a big expense, with the whole village.
Right, or maybe you do it over a period of time as you replace lights.
Right.
They are beginning to replace lights anyway because they're replacing, regular bulbs with LEDs.
Right.
Which obviously are much cheaper to maintain and last much longer. So maybe as they replace them, they can then replace the
lamp.
fixtures.
the cap itself.
Yeah, the actual fixtures, so that. And then the light poles are a whole different issue. I think a separate issue.
Right.
But certainly, I've been thinking about it. So the South Haven Arts Center next door, which is very dark now at night, the open space, and there's been thought about lighting. You obviously want to make sure when that lighting's put in, it follows dark sky, because
Right.
that's a big area.
Which open space you talking
The South Haven Arts Center, the
Oh.
former parish art museum.
Yeah. Oh, the thing
Yeah.
about putting lights in there?
Yeah, well, that space is pretty dark at night, actually.
Right.
But again, you put in these new lights,
Why
and
would they need light in there anyway?
well, people are now beginning to use it to pass through. Now that the new entrances are open on
Right.
Job's Lane.
Right.
Yeah, particularly in the summer, people really do use it, actually.
So they should have some.
Yeah, so you shortcut to the parking lot and back. And it's dark. It gets quite dark. So this is a good example that over time, I think, part of hopefully what happens with code like this is you get the impact over time
Right.
as lighting gets replaced. But you need to grandfather, because I think, as you would point out, and I strongly agree, you don't want this suddenly to be a burden on everybody.
Yeah, right.
Less lighting. I think the industry is beginning to move this way anyway, because so many villages and towns across the country are doing this. So does everyone want to go through, Ed, could you particularly go through it? Obviously, you know more about this than most of us.
Yeah.
And what would happen is, if you have the lights that shine up the trees,
He's been in the landscape world for a long time.
so what do we do with them?
What is this?
If there's, the
Ground
lights
lighting
that
going
shine up from the trees, shine up from the ground to the trees.
Uplighting of trees, which is, they're frowning upon that.
Yeah,
It's more
exactly.
up, downlighting.
Right.
They would have to be
Right.
removed or...
So you can do downlighting on the trees, it's the same effect, or be...
It's a
My
little bit,
wife likes them, she sees, oh, it looks so pretty.
yeah, well, it is a different effect because you're coming down now
Right.
instead of going up. It's more of they call it a moon lighting. opposed to,
You have to put the lights very high though to do that?
yeah, but you want height restrictions
Right.
in that as well.
Right,
You know, you don't want someone with a tree that's 6 feet tall.
right.
But
Shining
are we
down.
going to require that they remove the lights, the upshining?
No, again, I think it's hard to, if someone has it,
Right.
Or you want to leave it? But they were not permitted per se, so it's
They
hard.
don't need to be permitted.
No, they don't need to be permitted, it's hard to grandfather them.
Well, it's grandfather because it's there, and anything new.
There is, I'm just trying to find it.
But
There is, it only applies when you apply for something. It's
With a
not,
building permit.
right,
Yeah.
right.
so Mrs. Smith, if she's not applying for a building permit, you know,
Right.
is there regulation to stop somebody from just arbitrarily going out there? and-
Putting up lighting.
Yeah. It's a very good question.
May I ask a question? Would it be reasonable to look at uplighting, since you're in the, you have a landscape background, right?
Yeah.
Would it be reasonable to look at it as like a seasonal element that takes into account the size of the tree and the canopy and the leaves that are out as almost qualifying as shielding? I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, I'm just wondering, because I was, as a kid, I worked with Greg Yale,
Yep.
right? He was really big
Yeah, yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
He had me dig a lot of trenches. It's
Mr.
beautiful. And he was one of the first ones to put, I think, quartz mercury vapor lighting with transformers at all these lights and a very soft lighting, not a very, not intense lighting. It's beautiful. Would it be willing to, would it make sense to explore the idea that the canopy actually of a significant enough size tree seasonally would allow for some uplighting, where like between the months of X and X before the leaves are fall off, right? Where,
Or maybe
the caliper tree or the age of the tree might warrant, a minimal amount of
Or
uplight.
maybe the intensity of the light could,
Yeah, the
be part
intensity,
of it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
maybe a lower
That's what
intensity allowed for an uplighting.
I think uplighting's beautiful.
I think it's
in
beautiful
the
too,
right
yeah.
application, I think uplighting's really beautiful. And it
Yeah.
highlights one of the most important elements of a village that's as old as ours, which is some of these really significant trees that should be showcased to a degree, very subtly.
I wonder if you could also control the amount of uplighting.
Yeah, well,
Like
that's what
if you do-
that's what I
yeah.
said, the
The East Hampton
intensity.
Code was talking about wattage, allowable wattages
Uh-huh.
in the lighting.
Right. Interesting.
Allowing
Right.
the uplighting, but to a maximum wattage.
Right.
Because with uplighting, of course, you have the branches and everything in the summertime, you have the leaves, so that would make a difference. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, just in terms of what someone asked before, so this impacts only, very clearly, only when you either build a new house, you apply for a major alteration. This is not an attempt to get Mrs. Smith to change your lights,
Right.
because that gets too complicated. And again, I just always want to be cognizant, we have a building department that's very overloaded with work, and so their ability to monitor this stuff is limited, so it's really, their best shot at monitoring this is when someone's applying for something.
Right.
But I think that it could also be an ordinance that's not only regulated by the building department. I think it's an ordinance that, like in the town, it's an ordinance that's valid for anywhere. Anywhere if you have a light, if somebody files a complaint and your light does not meet the dark sky regulations,
Right.
you get a violations and you have to correct it.
But who issues the violation?
The code enforcement,
Uh-huh.
not building department.
We don't really have separate codes.
No, we have.
We do. We have
Yeah.
an ordinance.
Right, right. You mean put it in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even here, they're pretty clear about this, says approximately that, so that outdoor lighting that is protected of the environment is installed on all new construction and is used when current outdoor lighting fixtures are not in compliance with this article, which is a need replacement. So, yeah, they're not going to make you replace, but, if you're new construction or if you put in new lighting and you're replacing lights, then you have to.
Then you
do
have
all-
to, you can only replace it with,
Right.
yeah.
And again, it also looks like the industry is going in that direction.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for professionals, electricians that let's say they're going to be replacing something that's already there.
Right.
In order for them, like for building, you have building guidelines and whatnot. In order for them to do that, should it be into some kind of statute so that they know they have to conform?
Yeah. The state does that already with energy code. Like when you replace a lighting fixture,
Right.
you have to comply with energy code now.
Right.
You know, you can't.
Right.
So there should be some
Right.
kind of code so the
Right.
electricians know what they can and cannot use to
Right.
replace,
Right.
right? Because now you're not, because they're not going to
Right.
get a permit to do that.
Right. But it's interesting, I mean, just, it's worth going through. So for example, one thing they do here is you can apply for a variance when you have a historic structure, and complying with this would not allow you to have lighting that's in compliance with the historic nature of the structure. So, you know, I think they tried to think through some of it, but if you could go through and
Yeah.
sort of tell us what you think, that would be terrific.
We should have an exception for Christmas lights. also.
It does have an exception for Christmas lights. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
All right.
We can tell the White House we're not warring on any holidays. Right. It's interesting, it has a concept, what they call dark skies, they call sky glow. The idea that, you know, you're trying not to, what it does, I'm trying to find it again, but interesting enough, it does say something about anything that causes glare for the neighbors. Now, this only relates to outdoor lighting, but they bring glare as a specific item.
But I like that last paragraph in East Hampton, where the light trespass.
Right. Right.
You know, we also need to respect the privacy and rights of our neighbors.
Right.
Yeah. They have a section in here, in the Southampton town as well for light trespassing.
Right. Yeah.
And they actually put a wattage or a glow to it.
Yeah.
I just saw it flipping through. 0.05 candle watts or something at the property line.
Right.
Anything more than that is light trespass limits on page 12, section H. Illumination at or beyond the property line abutting residential partial nature preserved waterways shall not
Right,
exceed.
so that would actually address what I was talking about
Yeah.
before.
Yep.
I mean, one thing I see now, for example, is people put in, you know, people build these new houses and they put in a circular driveway, which they've decided is a marker of, you know, status or something. And then they do lighting on the entire driveway is lit. Right, you know, that's sort of what you wouldn't be able to do.
This is interesting here, nuisance lighting. The exemption shall not apply if the town determines upon complaint that certain outdoor lighting creates nuisance lighting as defined by,
Yeah, that's
if the
good.
town determines upon complaint by an affected neighboring property owner or occupant, and it keeps on going, the nuisance lighting exists on a property that lighting shall comply with. So they'll force you to comply if you get a complaint. That's
Interesting.
What page was that?
Page 7, number
Yeah, page
4.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh, that is.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, Ed's point before, interesting, if you look at A1 and 2, it gives you a foot candle, which I think is really helpful. So that's, you know that you're not supposed to exceed that foot candle.
Right.
Right. And also, actually, I don't know how they do this, but they say, well, light fixtures have to be retrofitted. You know, Joe, I think this is older, because this story says all light structures have to be removed or retrofitted before January 1, 2012. So this was clearly before 2000. I think this might have been 2010, actually,
Could have been, yeah.
this code.
And maybe there's a new one.
No, I don't think this code has changed. This one is much newer. The East Hampton is much newer.
But this one you got it from the latest one?
This one is definitely the latest from, I got it off the town's website.
Okay.
And this I got off East Hampton They didn't have this, but they had this, which is unfortunately doesn't print very well, which is their little pamphlet, although I thought it was a very helpful pamphlet. If you go on the website, Yield for East Hampton, this is easy to read.
The town also has a pamphlet.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I have it.
This, I thought the East Hampton pamphlet, actually, when you download it, it's actually very helpful in terms of explaining it. It's a very good summary. For example, I thought this was very helpful, seeing the illustration of the lights and then this summary.
Yeah, I thought that was very well done.
Yeah. It's sort of like, in a minute, like what the basic rules are.
And it looks like Southampton has a very good description in the back of this as well.
Yeah.
Page 21 there, it has the
Right.
very similar pictures.
Well, let me tell you, a lot of work went into this thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like it. This was not like, yeah. They obviously spent a lot of time on this. There's stuff like car dealerships. I don't think we have a car dealership anymore within the village.
Buzz Chew.
Buzz Chew, you're right, Buzz Chew. That's the only one. And they clearly violate every night sky rule imaginable.
Is it the Land Rover?
And the Land Rover, yeah.
And Jaguar.
The Land Rover Jaguar, yeah, you're right, I forgot. They're not as bad. The Buzz Chew is a very well-lit dealership, that's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, but with commercial there, it's funny because there's liability associated to the,
Yeah.
if it's not well lit.
Yeah, well, there's well-lit and there's,
Right.
as we say, airport lighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Obviously compliance, still be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Buzz Chew was built 2000?
Well, it's in the village, not the town, so it would have
Right.
been, yeah, I think so. I think that's probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe even later.
Dark skies isn't really limiting the amount of lighting, it's limiting the direction really of the lighting.
It's actually also
It's really the
limiting
shield.
total amount of lighting.
It is, huh?
Yeah.
It's a great initiative,
Yeah.
especially with what's happening, the leaps and bounds within LEDs. And I was on
Right,
the phone,
right.
I was on the phone with Lutron last night.
Right.
And they have store-bought technology that you can get from Home Depot
Right.
that you can program. For $100, you can buy something. You can buy a dimmer switch that has a remote switch that has a hub or base that communicates with Wi-Fi, and you can program your lights to come on and off and at different
From your
dim
phone.
settings. And
Right. From a
these
phone or an
LED
iPad.
These LEDs are
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It's amazing now.
Yeah, they're really, really
yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
And what's really amazing is when you look at some of those nighttime satellite images
Right.
of the U.S.
Right.
and see how bright, the
Yeah.
Northeast is at
Yeah,
night.
yeah, particularly in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
The West Coast has had dark sky regulations for a very long
I
time.
mean, is Long Island very bright as well?
Yes.
Yeah, really?
New York, Long Island, Connecticut, the whole sort of coastline right here is, just at the nighttime sky from satellite imagery, it's just looks like it must be daylight
All
around
the
here.
street lights and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see that, like, wow, the impact we're having.
Right.
But we could
But
also,
it could be like North Korea.
Well, that's funny. You look at that same image over North Korea.
And South Korea, I mean,
You can see the DMZ line there from south to north. It goes dark.
I like the one that said in the month of December, the city of Moscow had 2 hours of sunlight.
Really, that's it? Oh, they had the lights going all
They had like a
the time.
fog inversion. They had 2 hours of sunlight in a month.
Oh, my goodness.
It's one way to, with dark skies.
but maybe we should do,
Right.
to choose the light, the replacement light for the village. Maybe we should involve. the
As part of this initiative, yes.
As part of the decision, maybe.
And that's Gary. I mean, it'd be good to go over this with Gary and talk about
Yeah.
the village looking forward as it begins to replace lights.
Yeah, and get
Right.
maybe the public input as to the selection of that light.
Right. All I remember is the last time they picked a street light, that was like a year of debate, so.
I can't imagine.
Oh my God, it was unbelievable.
Was that the color or for the bulb?
No, the fixture, I think at one point they had 4 different fixtures on the street, trying to
yes,
help
that's right.
pick it, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And they ended up with the oldest one, yeah.
I think we've hit the tipping point as far as affordability for LED technology.
Oh, yeah.
It's so
yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
cheap.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
looking at hi-hats,
Right,
ceiling mount hi-hats now, and they have IC rated, which is for contact with insulation and waterproof,
right.
and they're 4/10 of an inch thick. So if you lay out a ceiling with hi-hats, one of the issues back in the day would be, I gotta figure out where the studs are.
Yeah,
how to keep this
yeah.
cannon.
Not the case anymore.
You can put them absolutely anywhere.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
sheetrock's a half-inch thick. So you can actually locate these new LED hi-hats that just came out in the last few weeks.
Right, right.
Did a lot of Home Depot trips.
Well, part of what's doing it is they're gradually going to phase out manufacturing of traditional lights. So everyone,
bulbs.
yeah,
Yeah.
bulbs.
Yeah.
So it's federally mandated. So that's creating enormous investment in this new lighting technology.
And California has a code, because I noticed it on the boxes.
Very
They have, I
strict. It's
forget,
unbelievable.
it's like article or some type of code within California.
You
that
basically
These lights are compliant, that
Right.
they're marked.
You cannot, in the state of California, you cannot install a new conventional bulb. It's against the law. So if you have an existing fixture, but if you put any new fixture in a house, it has to be an LED bulb. Any new fixture. And an electrician can be fined and lose their license for putting in a traditional fixture with traditional bulbs.
Interesting. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
actually migrating away from the
And they're
LED.
serious about it. They're really
They're
serious about it.
migrating away from, I think
Right.
basically what you just said, is they're
Right.
migrating even away from the bulbs.
Right.
The fixture has a
Right.
non-replaceable bulb in it. It's 50,000 hours.
The
and
LED hi-hat,
it's-
so thin.
It's, yeah, that's exactly the one. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so if you
unbelievable.
build a house,
Home Depot?
Home Depot,
Amazon.
yeah, if you build a house in California now, you cannot have a fixture. It's against the law to have a fixture that could be converted to use non-LED bulbs.
Is that why?
that's probably what
Right.
the code is, just so that
I'm
the
serious.
bulb's not replaceable.
They will
Fixture lasts for
give you a building permit if they think the fixture can be actually
Is that why
lasts for
the
50,000
New
hours.
California's back
They
up?
have to use
Probably. One of the reasons.
3 hours a day.
It's really unbelievable.
It's great.
They'll deny the building permit.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah, they're very
My
serious about
electrician
it.
has said, he's like, that's the way things are going, because everything was always, a circuit for this bedroom, a circuit for that.
Right.
He said you could have one 15-amp circuit
Right,
with
right.
these 6-watt LEDs. You could have,
Right.
so many that you don't have, the concern of load is really no longer about, lighting. It's
The other thing is, as you know, they're much longer lasting. So, the traditional issue with landscape lighting is they go off all the time. These LED ones can last literally for years.
Well, the same thing happened with the traffic lights. They
Right,
used to constantly change the
Right.
traffic lights, and now we're using the LED. You only change them every couple of years, or
right.
Yeah, they're 50,000 hours.
Yeah.
50,000 hours in an average, or whatever that is, 50,000 hours, 3 hours a day, into 50,000, whatever that math, whatever that math is.
Right.
It's well worth the investment.
Yeah. So,
By that time, the fixture
yep,
corrodes from,
from other things. Right.
The house is being knocked down.
Right. So can you go through this and come back? Our meeting is the first. Yeah, the first, sorry.
the 1st of
Yeah.
February.
February, yeah. We're back on a regular schedule at that point.
2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to make it a little bit long since we just had the meeting?
No, we're back on the regular schedule. This was just out of sync
February
because
1st.
of the holiday and
Right.
trustees and everything else, but to
Okay.
get back on a regular schedule. That would be great.
Yep.
That'd be great. So I think, as Joe said very aptly, this has been a major initiative for the mayor since he came into office.
Yes.
And part of our job is to help sort of figure out how to frame
Exactly.
that. So,
Is another topic?
yes, sure.
As another topic, the health department has enacted their new standards as of January 1st in terms of both on the commercial side and the residential side. So they've made a few changes. So maybe it's time for us to look again at the wastewater management in the village center.
Have they, as part of that permitted the new processes?
Yes, yes. So they've not only permitted, but there's, in some cases, they're mandated. They're mandated.
So can you bring that to the next meeting so we can
Yeah.
start to talk about it?
Exactly, all the changes
Right.
that they made. So yeah, go over it and then maybe come up with a plan for the Village Business District and look at maybe Plan B, that instead of doing a central
Right,
collection
right.
system, maybe we can come up with 5 smaller systems and do a proper
Mm-hmm. Right.
wastewater
Yeah.
collection.
Well, that sounds great.
Because the last time we looked at it, they still had not quite, they were
Yes.
about to, but they had not quite
Right.
issued permits for these new
Right,
systems.
this is,
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Just, you know, it's an open forum, just, you know.
You're looking at me? Is the nitrogen reducing system a requirement now in the village building code?
only in the sensitive areas.
Right, which is most of the village.
Where-
A lot of
where- yeah, when
On
you're
new
in this-
construction, right?
Yeah.
It's required.
Yeah, new construction, when you replace it,
Nitrogen reduction is not required, right?
yeah, it's required in sensitive areas. In
And the towns applied it too, and I think you can go within the town website, I went in and typed
Also,
in
yes.
the address. And then it encompasses a good amount of the lots.
Yeah.
Yes,
As, you know, there's a significant amount of expense associated with it.
with a certain distance, when you're
But
a
in
certain
the town,
distance from
not in the
any,
village, in the town though, right?
no, in the village also.
In the village and the town, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as of December, I think,
Right.
what, was December 1 that was the town?
January 1st.
January 1st, is it? Yeah. Which through, because there's a minimal amount of engineers that actually, I don't think there's a lot of people that really,
Understand, no, they've done a substantial amount of training
right.
among the engineers. So the big difference is that it's a piece of equipment. It's not something that
That needs to be checked.
it needs, yeah, there are moving parts, there's power, there is
Right, you need
treatments.
you need
Right.
you need an excavator, you need,
But you need the maintenance also.
you need annual maintenance, like
Yeah.
Maintenance is
like
gonna be the big
backflow for
part, right?
commercial.
Yeah.
Right. And also the fact that when it treats the water, if you haven't used the house, let's say in 6 months, or so, you have to come back and actually add a little bit of bacteria, so it starts again,
Right,
the process.
right.
I'll put
Right.
together something
Right.
for next time.
So it's not so
This
good
is-
for second homes then?
But this is for the septic systems, but we didn't pass any regulations on that yet, have we?
Whatever the
Yeah, the
the
village
village board did.
Yeah,
Oh, you
yeah,
did?
yeah, yeah.
When did that happen?
Last month, was it?
No, yeah, 2 months ago.
2 months ago, yeah.
December, right?
Yeah, December.
All right, so that's, the regulation
Yeah,
is in,
yeah, yeah.
and we know what the systems are that are approved and everything
Yes.
else?
Yeah,
For the health department,
right.
whatever is approved by the county.
I guess what the health department said is you can mandate them, but you can't mandate which system to use. Only the health department can mandate
Yes.
which system to use. That was the sort of back and forth, right, between the village and the county.
Right.
Yeah. Because the village originally was going to mandate which system was used, and the health
Yeah, I mean, you can't
department
do that.
stepped in and said you can't do that.
Right, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
But did the village go across the whole village or just the sensitive areas?
I think it's just the
No,
sensitive
just the
areas.
sensitive areas.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
have the sensitive areas been determined?
Well, they're based on the,
Distance from a water body.
right, right. There is a, can you bring the map to the next meeting?
Water table or water body? Water table or
Water body.
Water body.
But it's just near the water then, near the...
It's a amount of distance from the water, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. In the village, that covers a lot of
I
land.
thought we originally wanted to do it for the whole village though. Wasn't that the original case?
Well, that was something we talked about. This is something the trustees did, I think, as their own initiative.
They sort of mirrored the town
Right,
initiative,
right.
where the town requires it for certain sensitive, what they call sensitive areas.
And if you're going to upgrade, there's grant money through the CPF, right?
Right, correct.
For this, and I think that's why
But
they,
it's yeah. there
I think
was-
when they extended the CPF state range, which was supposed to expire when, 2020 or 2019 or whatever.
2018, 2019, I thought.
They extended it by however many years.
5
They
years.
also incorporated in the use of that money being
No, 40 years.
4 years?
updating standards.
40.
40?
Yeah, 2050, I think it was.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's awesome.
The CPF will be bigger than most banks in the United States at that point.
It's first, I think it's first come, first served,
Yeah.
that those monies that are
Sitting on
available.
so much money.
And I don't know whether they apply it to,
We'll figure out how to, somebody will figure out how
Yeah,
to
I
steer
know,
it.
but it is amazing how much
Individual
money they're
tax
sitting in there.
loans.
Yeah.
There's an income level.
there's income levels too. yeah.
Really?
Apparently, from what a developer told me, there's enough incentives there where it costs the applicant, nothing. Which is a good thing.
Okay, anything else? So, I'm going to close the January meeting. Thank you.